Today I have something very, very special to show you. About 2 weeks ago, I was online and I saw a few of these cards. And I was like, wait, what? What is that? And I was just so taken aback by this deck. And I reached out to the creator and I'm like, look, what's the deal? I have got to have this deck. And the creator was so awesome. Such great customer service. It was so fast too. It shipped out like the next day and got to me in a couple of days. It was very quick. And I'm in Costa Rica and this was in the States. So it was fast. So I reached out and the creator sent me a copy of this deck for the purposes of doing an honest review. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. My name is QueenAusetHeru and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and click on the little bell that's directly next to it. That way you will be notified every time I send up a video. If you find yourself not getting notifications, just click on that bell, unnotify, and do it again. Sometimes it seems to me there's like, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes it seems to me like I have notifications on for all kind of stuff and I only get half of my notifications. So I don't feel like the platform really gives out all these notifications. So sometimes I have to do that. I have to unclick it and click it again. Anyway, please drop us a positive comment in the comment section. And if you know somebody who is questioning if they want to buy this deck or not, please give them this video. Let's see. Please, if you would like to get a reading done, underneath this video, you'll see my email and all of my personal information. I will also put underneath this video a link to where you can buy a legitimate copy of this deck if you really want to get one. Okay, so let's get started. I want to see this. First of all, it looks like a book. Like that looks to me like the bottom part looks like a book to me, or like a, no, it's not a book. It's like a chest. Okay. All right. Okay. So it's more like a treasure chest almost. That's very cool. Here's the back of it for those of you. Let me get the glare off. You can't really, okay, here we go. For those of you who would like to, let's get the first part. You can screenshot right there if you want. And then you can come up further and screenshot the bottom. What I know so far from reading about it is that this is different. Each card is going to be a different book, a story. You know, something you'd be familiar with, like Moby Dick or something like that. It says in the front right here that a non-profit organization is actually the ones who back this. So if you want to pause and read right there, that really touched me. You know, their mission is about literacy and helping people to, you know, be into reading. And you guys know reading and poetry is one of my biggest things. I love the classics. I taught English for many, many years. So I love the classics. I love this gold. Isn't that gold pretty? It looks so rich. It's beautiful, right? Now, I'm going to show you real quick. In the very beginning, there are some spreads. So if you're somebody that likes to use spreads like I do, there are some here. Oh, let's look at this really quick. I wanted to know this. All right, so the suits have been changed. So ink. All right, light, quills, and parchment. We do have the upright and the reverse. Okay, all right. And here are our spreads. So we got some spreads. Now this is another interesting fact, right? Each card is a different story. So at the top it tells you the name of the card and the number and what story it came from and who wrote the story. So I thought that was really cool. So, oh, they got some Shakespeare in here. Oh, I can't wait. A Midnight Summer's Dream is 7 of Light. Awesome. So as you can see, you'll know what each story is. That was one thing I was concerned about because I was like, I know I probably haven't read all of these. All right, so let's get started. I want to show you guys each and every card. It has this thing here, this ribbon, which is always useful for getting the cards out. This is the inside of the box. Beautiful, lush. it really looks to me like they did an awesome job with this. This is a beautiful, beautiful deck, just from what we've seen so far. All right, now we're going to look at the cards themselves. This is the proof is in the pudding, right, people? Let's go to number 1. All right. Now, I don't know if you can see this or not, right? But there's gold. Look at that gold. There's gold all over. Isn't that beautiful? That is awesome. And some of these stories you may recognize, and some of them you may not. It just depends on how much reading you've done. And of course, it's the artist's interpretation too. This is beautiful. Look at that. Oh, this is like one of my favorite cards so far. And I've noticed up front the diversity. Whenever you see diversity in the first 3-4 cards, you know that this person, this creator, was really doing diversity. Because some decks, and they got different sizes. Like, she's a more full-figured woman. Like, you can see it. You're seeing different ages. He's an older gentleman. So, like, some decks, they'll say it's diverse. They'll play at diversity is what I call it. This deck is serious about it. And you see it through, I mean, immediately. And look at all the gold. That gold accent, that gold foiling is on each and every card in different strategic places. I love that. And that's why I said, like, they're not playing at diversity. You see all kinds of different cultures immediately. And then when you turn the cards around, isn't that beautiful? Oh, you know what I did not do? First of all, I didn't show you the size. As you can see, they are the same size as a standard tarot deck. It's not too big. It's not too small. This is the back. So all the suits are represented on the back. And let me show you real quick the stock. Not too thick, not too thin, nice snapback. Yeah, awesome, really awesome. So like I was saying, some people play at diversity, you know. This is not playing at it. You can really see it. Like, every card, you know, you see different types of people, which makes sense to me, because when you're reading literature, you're learning about different types of people, different time periods, right? Different genders, different adventures they've been on. Oh, by the way, let me show you something really fast. The edges. I meant to show you that the edges are edged in gold. I think that is so beautiful. So, you know, you're seeing different people from different parts of the world, and I feel like it makes sense, you know, that you have diversity in the people that are represented in the cards, but you just don't always see it. Like I said, some people play at it. Some people don't play at it at all. You know, they're just like, they just do whatever, you know. But somebody like this particular creator, you can see that it actually... Look at that. You can see that it's actually something that was taken into serious consideration. I love how the gold is over the town. And look how beat up the hermit is. Usually the hermit has on like a fly, you know, what is it? A fly cloak, you know. That hermit is beat up. And it makes more sense to me too, because if you think about it, if you're a hermit, you're probably not wearing fly clothes. You probably aren't, you know. Maybe some of them do, but I wouldn't if I was a hermit. Look at her hair, the gold hair. Oh, look at that. That is so cool. The gold aspect of it is decent. Look at how he can see himself in the water. So clearly, let's turn it around. He shot somebody, as we can see. He or she, I can't tell, he or she, I think it's a he, shot somebody and is in jail and is thinking about it, and it's the justice card. Isn't that cool? That is really cool. So yeah, I am really feeling it. It's decent. I would give it a 10 out of 10 off the cuff, because like I said, they spent a lot of time paying attention to detail. The artwork is stunning. It makes sense for the card and for the story. Yeah, Dracula. I love Dracula. And the gold accents just add to it. I mean, it just, you know, It just adds to how awesome it already is. And it's decent because you also can pretty much read anybody with this particular deck, male, female, any culture, any walk of life. You pretty much can read them. Somebody who likes to read, well, this would be a great deck for that person, so they can, they probably will even recognize many of the images. This is Moby Dick. I know that one for a fact. So that would be cool. And for those of us who don't read enough, or for those of us who, haven't had time, it may be encouraging to read some of these stories. Like, this is making me think about, like, wow, did I read that? What was that about? Like, we just passed Jekyll and Hyde, and I taught Jekyll and Hyde when I taught high school, and that was a great story. Oh, the star, look at the star, look at the water. Oh, wow. I love it. See what I mean? That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's just like, there's so many little gems here. This is Alice in Wonderland. Interesting. Really interesting to me. The roses are really beautiful. Let's see how it glistens. The moon glistens. I like the way you can see down the hole. Usually Alice is depicted as having fallen into this big hole. In this one, she's walking down the steps. I like that interpretation. Oh, wow. Now let's take a look at this. Look at that. The gold flowers. And the sun. Oh, wow. Yeah, it does really encourage me. Like this one, for example, I'm like, what story is this? It seems to be souls in the water, and these... It reminds me of Titanic. Remember in Titanic when they were, rowing the boat through and picking up the people that were still alive? That's what that reminds me of. So yeah, it really does make me want to read some of these stories again or for the first time. This, of course, The World, King Arthur, gotta be. Because you see the round table behind them, the lady in the lake with the sword. So I'm thinking that's Excalibur. That's what it looks like to me. So anybody that's into reading, it would be kind of fun to sit and figure out which ones are which. Look at this. Look how all the spillage is gold. That is decent. Oh man, I think they made some really fun choices for each of these. Now I don't know how these suits line up. I don't know what ink is. I don't know if it's... I don't know. I have no idea. I can't really tell by looking at it because, the suits are usually wands, cups, pentacles, and swords. They've changed them. So I would just freestyle with this. I would just go with whatever it says in the guidebook. Honestly, that's what I'm going to do. And it's just so amazing. Look at this. This is beautiful. I'm really surprised at the quality of this deck. Like, seriously. I was expecting to like it just because of the fact that I like, literary. I like stories. I like poetry. I like prose. I like haikus. I like all that kind of stuff. So I was thinking, oh yeah, this is going to be cute. But I am really surprised at that. Yeah, this is really nice. And it's not expensive either. Underneath this video, I will definitely, because the price is not on the box, I don't think. No, it's not. So remember I said underneath this video I would definitely give you a link to where you can get it, but it wasn't expensive. It was a very for the quality of it and for the coolness of it, it was much less than I expected, put it like that. I think it was in the... It had to be between 50 and 80. It was something like that. I've seen decks with less than this go for 100. So I really do like that. It's a great price. And like I said, the mission of the nonprofit is about literacy and things like that. So we need our children, and oh, that's decent. Oh yeah, the 7 of ink. Wow. We need our children to be interested, in reading. We want them to be, to have a love of reading. Because reading in books, poetry, that kind of stuff, it's not just about, reading some stuffy old stories. They're art. They're literally art. The stories themselves are art. So I remember being a young girl and falling in love with stories. I used to go to the library and get 10 to 12 books at a time. I forgot what the limit was back then. There was a limit of how many books you could take out. And I would go to the library and I would take out the maximum amount, read them all. I think this is Scarlet Letter. I love the Scarlet Letter. And I would read them all, and then I would take them back and come back and get 12 more. Like, I just would do that all the time, especially in the summertime when I had time. And I didn't have the best childhood. It wasn't the worst. You know, my mother did give us a lot of things like private school and, you know, all kinds of toys and stuff like that. But it wasn't always the, you know, the best time. I think that's true of a lot of childhoods. So I would find that I could escape boredom or whatever was going on, you know, any negativity or anything like that. I could escape it through these stories. So I just kept reading them. I was hooked on them, like how some people are like hooked on soap operas. I like those back then too. But a lot of times I was on punishment because I was a very mischievous young lady, as you can probably imagine. And my mother, oh, that's decent. I wonder what that's from. I want to read that story. It looks like a Japanese vampire story. Gotta read that. I'm gonna find out what that is. So my mother would always say, if I was on punishment, that I could not watch TV, I could not listen to the radio, I could not go outside. Okay, this was her punishment. But I could read as much as I wanted. So for all the times I was in trouble for God knows what, smart mouth usually, I would read. So that's how I know a lot of the stories, you know, and things along those lines, is because that's all I really could do was read. And then, like I said, as an adult, I taught English for a very long time. My specialty was history. I'm a history person, but I had to teach English. It was a requirement for teachers in my district, so you had to teach more than one subject. So I would teach English. It was the one thing that I had a love for, and that's decent. Isn't that cool? Look at that. And I would teach, you know, these stories, and because I loved them so much, I could bring them, you know, bring them to life, you know, for the kids. And, you know, not all of them. Some of my kids was like, look, lady, these old stories ain't doing nothing for me. But other ones really got into it. Like A Midnight Summer's Dream. I did that my last year teaching with some ninth graders. And they adored it. They loved it. I remember one day we were doing like some type of activity. And I brought in some type of perfume. Because there's a love potion used in the actual play itself, and I made a mock version of the love potion. Oh, that was such a fun day. And we did you know, we read, you know, from the actual play, and it was awesome. It was really awesome, and me and those ninth graders had a great time. This is decent. Look at the top of this, and then when you flip it over, look at the bottom. Isn't that cool? That is really cool. I want to know what story that is. That's cool. It looks like their life fell apart. Maybe they lost all their money. I don't know. Or maybe they lost their love. I don't know. So when I had the opportunity to teach these stories, some of these stories anyway, that was really awesome. I got to go back over them and read ones that, you know, I had never read A Midnight Summer's Dream before. I had read Hamlet. I had read Romeo and Juliet, of course. They made us do that in high school. But I had a whole nother appreciation, you know, teaching it than I did as a young girl. This is a beautiful card. This gentleman is very handsome. I love his locks, and I love how the gold is woven throughout there. I told you guys I gave this deck a 10 out of 10. Seriously. It checks all the buttons for me. I love the cleverness. I love the gold. I love the size. When I'm finished, I'm going to shuffle it because I'm pretty certain this deck is going to shuffle easily, just by the size of the cards, and they're kind of glossy, you know, so that usually does shuffle well. These are decent. Wow, man, look at that. And you know, lately I've been really getting into writing stories and writing poetry with cards. And certain decks I really feel like are going to be a great springboard for that. And if I was going to use a tarot deck to do a story, or you know, to do some poems like I did a couple days ago, this would be great for that. It has so much going on. It's so busy. You can pull one card and write a whole poem off that one card. You know, because even though each one is based on a different story, you can come up with your own original ideas just from looking at it, you know. That's decent. Wow. I think I know this story. Is this a story where a woman is losing her mind, I think, and is beginning to think that she sees images in the wallpaper? If I'm not mistaken, I think I read that in college. I'm gonna look it up though. But yeah, this really does encourage me to read, like, you know, fiction, because I do still read. I just don't read as much as I used to. And I always read nonfiction. Almost always is professional development. You know, I read about, you know, meditation, or I read about healing the heart, or I read about different spirits, or crystals, or you know, all kinds of things about like yoni eggs and Egypt and Egyptian spirituality, and you know, all kind of stuff like that. But I don't read much fiction anymore. And I think that, like I said before, to me, this kind of, like, you know, writing, like I said, is art. And it's definitely based off of the RWS system. I was just looking to see, definitely. Wow, look at his crown. Wow, man. All right, we're into the parchment suit. So this is one of the kind of decks you definitely have to read the guidebook. You can, I mean, you could, you know, you can just look at it and be like, okay, it is what it is. You can decide which the suits are. Like, I could just say, okay, this is Pentacles, for example, because it has a pentacle feel to me. And this is the Three of Pentacles, you know, and just read it as the Three of Pentacles. You know, Three of Pentacles is three people working together to achieve something. So I'm assuming these three men worked together to kill this one man who was probably an evil villain or something, you know. So it's so many ways you can be able to read this. But I probably would definitely go along with the guidebook. And you can also read these intuitively. If you're the kind of person who doesn't, like, if you're new to tarot, you can read these intuitively. It just depends on what you come up with. They have so much personality, their facial expressions, and they're busy. Like, these are not, you know, minimalistic cards. They're very busy. There's so much going on here. I would think this is a Five of Pentacles, that they've lost their fortune, maybe even, you know, are having problems in their relationship. So as I was saying before, you know, it's just so much going on that you really would not have any kind of problem reading these intuitively. Let's look at that. What is that? Oh, paper. Oh, yeah. And it's not borderless, but the border is so thin, you know? And I think it adds to it because I love the black. The black was a great touch. I love the black. But the gold border just makes the picture pop even more. So I think that's awesome. This must be Phantom of the Opera. I love the theme song to Phantom of the Opera. Oh, wow. The comb in her hair. Oh, look at this. This is awesome. Yeah, this is amazing. I don't have anything bad to say about this deck. I'm looking at it and I'm trying to, I'm like, I'm scrutinizing it properly and I'm just in love with it. I just want to use it. That's the only thing I'm thinking. It's like, okay, I can't wait to finish so I can use this deck. This is decent. Love that. Look at that big sword in his hand. Yeah, man. Wow. Yeah. It definitely encourages me in a lot of different ways. Very creative. I love it. And you know what's interesting about this deck? The other day, I was sitting here and I wrote a story. This deck, it wasn't a story, it was a haiku. Yeah. And stuff like this, like for instance, look at her. Her gold. This kind of thing reminds me. And you have to move it to see the gold. So that's the cool part. But it reminds me of what I wrote. Let me read it to you. It says, "You broke me in half. I mended myself with gold. Now my scars glisten." That gold reminds me of that. You know? Because all throughout, like for instance, look at him. His scars glisten. All over his body. That's what that reminds me of. Isn't that cool? And I wrote that before I even had this deck. So that's really interesting to me. Alright guys, so now we're going to do two things. The first thing we're going to do is shuffle the deck. Try not to move the camera too much. Alright, get them in my hands and shuffle. Oh, okay. Awesome. Yes, I told you. And that was really easy. Very easy to shuffle. Now we're going to take one card at random. Top card at random. That's the Hierophant. Is that him? Yes, that is our Hierophant. And we're just going to see how easy it is to find him and get some information on him. Okay, bam, right there, the Hierophant. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. Pairing by Seven Osmond. The captain of this vessel bears a list of orders you must follow to accompany him. His order and orthodox bring you certainty in your actions, a divine direction. Upright, tradition, conventionality, conformity, knowledge, and beliefs. In his exile, Captain Nemo exists between worlds, and you, through his methods, may join him. Follow the laws and rules you find arrayed before you, and plunge deeper into this new world. These depths, like the heavens, have answers that are greater than ourselves. And if you get it in the reverse, rebellion, new methods, unconventionality, and ignorance. You have followed orders for too long, and the sacred knowledge is no longer worth the cost of conforming. Go beyond tradition to find your own answers, or the tentacles of despair may hold you at the bottom of the world. Wow, that's awesome. So you go inside, you find, put it right here, you find the card, and then you can look at it in the upright or the reverse. Now, one more thing I want to see right before we go, because they're not the traditional suits, I want to see what would happen if I got this. Two of Parchment. Let's look at that. Let's take a good look at it. Pretty. Two of Parchment. Because I don't know what these are. And I want to just see what kind of idea I get. Two of Parchment. Lud in the Mist by Hope Merlis. Pairing by Kelly Link. You live a prosperous life. Okay. At the conjunction of two rivers. One river is prosaic and the other has its origin beyond the debatable hills and dreams, songs, and fairy fruit. If you get it in the upright, it means balancing resources, adaptation, resourcefulness, and flexibility. So I was right. This has to be the Pentacles then. So they do coincide with the suits. So it might tell us that in the beginning. I just wanted to see if I could figure it out. You balance your obligations to family and community with equal attention to what nourishes you. even when it comes from a place of strangeness. Music and poetry, romance and eccentricity are given space within the constraints of society. Reversed, imbalance, unorganized, overwhelm, messiness, and chaos. Too much indulgence in fairy fruit or any other obsession will overwhelm your ability to live in this world. But too much attention to the marketplace or to only one task, and everything else will run out of bounds and over the brinks of your life. All right, we're done. This is awesome. I strongly suggest you click on the link underneath this video and get it. And you come back soon because I got a lot more to say. See you later.